Now for a limited time, the new $1.99 crispy tender wraps are here at Sonic. Who could deny a crispy chicken tender with bold flavors like hickory barbecue and cheesy Baja? And we can't forget the crisp lettuce and melty cheese to make the perfect bite. Wrap yourself up with some TLC, tender, love, and chicken for only $1.99. Sonic $1.99 crispy tender wraps. Tax not included, limited time only at participating Sonic drive-ins.
Hi guys, quick one before we get into the episode. This episode is sponsored by Zencastr, which is the production suite that I've used from the very beginning of this podcast. And if you're interested in starting your own podcast, hang around at the end of the episode for our 30% discount referral code. Thanks.
So our podcast is called Right and Wrong.
Are these your notes?
These
These are your notes about what we're going to say?
Anything.
Nailed it.
Is the short answer.
So how many novels did you not finish?
Oh my God, so many.
It was perfect. What's she talking about? This is nonsense.
Ooh, a spicy question. I love it.
This is it, guys. The big secret to getting published is you have to write a good book. You heard it here first. Hello and welcome back to the Right and Wrong podcast. I'm Jamie, and joining me today is the author of Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry and Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl, the wonderful Joya Goffney. Hi, welcome, Joya.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. How are you doing? So, Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl came out a few weeks ago. Are you still caught up in the sort of whirlwind book launch event publicity streak?
A little. It's been crazy getting messages from readers and also going to book events, but also trying to balance writing. Yeah. Because I also have deadlines coming up. So it's been wild.
Yeah. I hear some people are often surprised. Obviously, this is the second time you're doing this, but some people are surprised when they publish their first novel how long the kind of media circus goes on and how long you have these sort of like publicity obligations and things.
Yeah, I think it was much more demanding for my first book. This time, it's pretty lax.
Oh, okay. Is that because do you think that's just because you know what to expect this time around, or do you think it's like you're already an established quantity and you have that fan base already?
Both, yeah. I think that publishing companies typically give a lot more marketing for debuts, but also, I have an established fan base, I guess you could say, and then also I know what to expect. I've done this, and I'm much better about it these days than I used to be.
Okay, so tell us about the new book, Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl. What's it all about? What inspired it?
Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl is about a girl named Monique. She is a preacher's daughter. So she is balancing all of the rules of her religion with her expectations from her boyfriend regarding sex. So she's been trying to have sex with her boyfriend for like 2 years, but she experiences a ton of pain. And after a while, her boyfriend just breaks up with her because he's tired of waiting on her. And so she spurs her on this adventure to find out what's wrong with her body. Why does sex hurt so bad? And she figures out that she has vaginismus. And she teams up with a church girl from her church and a bad boy from her church. And they go on this adventure to find the cure. And along the way, she finds really good friends and a love that, loves her for who she is and what she can do with her body. Yes,
indeed. And I must confess, I wasn't aware of vaginismus until I had read this book. Was that it's one of those things that sort of society stigmatizes people talking about issues with bodies quite a lot. Is it something that you really wanted to discuss, I guess, with this novel?
Yes. So I wrote this book because I had this condition. I had it for 3 years. I didn't know what was going on with my body. I never heard of vaginismus. I happened upon this word from a girl, a friend, a really good friend. And honestly, I just wanted to bring attention to this because I'm sure there are people out there who have this and have never heard of it. I just wanted someone to stumble upon my book and be like, what? Maybe this is what's happening to me, because it's so alienating. And yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's such a wonderful sentiment. And it's so important that we do raise awareness of things like this so that people don't feel like they are the only one and that they're broken and they're wrong. So I think it's amazing. Well done.
Thank you.
And so in keeping, the story is very different and the style to some degree as well. But in keeping with your first novel, they're both YA, sort of contemporary romantic comedies, but with sort of serious topics throughout. Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry, which is about a young girl who writes lists of everything and then loses her book of lists and has to go on a wacky adventure to find it.
Mm-hmm.
Of these two novels, which one is more sort of from your own experience?
I would say Confessions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Ugly Cry it had a lot of inspiration from my life, but I think Confessions was definitely based on my experience and my emotions during the time I was trying to figure out how to have sex.
which is a difficult enough time for everyone without further complications, Well, I think they're both great. They're both real triumphs, and whilst you do talk about the serious things, there is a lot of humor in them. They're very light, and they are charming romances as well that leave you feeling good.
Thank you.
How much had you written before Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry, your first book?
I guess you could say that I've always been a writer. I've been writing little stories here and there since like second, third grade. And once I was like a teenager, I was writing fan fiction. But like serious writing, like writing that I wanted to query and publish, I think I started around 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a book that was really dark and heavy, and it had no plot. And I queried it to like 4 agents. And, I got rejected, and then I started over with Ugly Cry, and I loved writing Ugly Cry. It was my joy. It gave me so much happiness to write and to reread, and that's when everything took off. Amazing.
I'm going to put a pin in that for a sec because I always have to know whenever people say that they wrote fan fiction. What did you write fan fiction about?
Oh God. Oh my gosh. Okay, so like junior high, I wrote Twilight fan fiction.
Oh, classic. That's the one, right?
Yes. Vampire stories, yes.
Well, we're laughing, but 50 Shades of Grey came from Twilight fan fiction.
This is true. That's
there are
very
multi-millions
true.
to be made from Twilight fan fiction. Okay, back to the serious stuff. So you did query with something before Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry. Did you sort of you've been writing a lot of different styles from the fan fiction through to these dark plotless stories? Did you experiment with lots of different voices and styles before you found your sort of place in first person YA?
Not really, no. I think I've always written first person YA.
Okay.
Yeah, not even like genres really, except for I guess Twilight fan fiction, but otherwise.
Okay, so you queried that first one and got rejections, probably because it didn't have a plot.
Right.
How long were you querying Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry?
So with Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry, I took a lot of time to send it out to beta readers and to edit and edit and edit. I took like so much, maybe 6 months just sending it to random strangers. But
after you'd finished it.
Right, after I finished it. Once I actually decided to query, I think it took so I sent one query to an agent, and then I waited a month and sent another query. It was my second query that I got a response back same day, which was amazing.
Yeah, wow.
And after about 3 weeks, I signed with my current agent, Brianne Johnson.
Wow, that's a quick turnaround.
It was, it was crazy.
But it sounds like you did a lot of groundwork, and was it all sort of people you knew, other readers, writers, or was it friends, or did you use sort of professional editing services before you submitted? I
went to Goodreads and I found a group for beta readers and critique partners, like searching for beta readers and critique partners. And I like posted what my book was about, and if anyone was interested, I'd send it to them, and I would I paid a few people to read it, which honestly was worthless. It really didn't get me anywhere, but yeah, I didn't really use any professional editing companies or anything like that, just like random freelancers.
Random people.
Yes, random. Yeah, exactly.
So that's all you need.
Yes, that's all.
Hey, it worked out. So from that submission process, did you then, I guess, as is often the way, did you work on it then with Brianne?
Yes. So after I signed with Brie, we worked for about 2 months, I think, editing before we went on to submission with publishing companies.
Okay. Was the title as it remained, or was that something that came later?
Right. So I actually titled it Days I've Ugly Cried, which is one of the lists that Quinn has in her journal. The people at Writer's House really liked the concept of ugly cry, but they're like, it's not quite catchy enough. And the foreign rights editor, Cecilian, I think her name is, she came up with Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry. And I thought it was fantastic. I loved it at first sight.
Yeah, it's great. Because it kind of captures an element of the character as well.
Yes.
That sort of sassy, this is kind of in there. No, I love it.
Yeah.
And we touched on it briefly when we were talking about the new one coming out and the whirlwind of marketing. But how did you find the whole publishing process once you had got the deal, once you'd signed, and it was a 2-book deal, right?
Yes.
How did you find that with the first book, going through editing, going through the launch window, all of that?
The whole time I didn't know what I was doing. I was just letting people guide me. And I still don't really know what's normal in this business. And so I'm like, yeah, sure. Yes. And it was like with editing, I actually really like editing. I like getting notes from my editor, and because usually it's stuff that I try to avoid when writing.
Introducing new dirty drinks from Sonic. Whatever your fave is, you can now make it dirty. Fanta fans can make it dirty. Dr. Pepper devotees can make it dirty. Even ocean water aficionados can make it dirty. You name it, we can make it dirty. Now you may be asking yourself, how do you make a Sonic drink dirty? By infusing it with a delicious blend of coconut flavor, sweet cream, and lime, of course. What were you thinking? Get your brain out of the gutter. New dirty drinks, now at Sonic. Fanta and Dr. Pepper are used under license. Limited time only at participating Sonic drive-ins.
Or it's like, it's stuff I know that I need to fix.
Yeah.
And so it gives me the courage to just strip it down and get the best product as possible.
Yeah.
With marketing for my first book, like with the interviews and stuff, it freaked me out. I've always been like shy, I guess.
Sure.
And I have anxiety. it was actually the interviews that I guess convinced me to see a therapist about it or a psychiatrist about it. So now I'm on social anxiety meds, but everything's better this time around. I'm doing
I was going
much
to say, now
better.
I feel bad. Like, I'm sitting here interviewing you.
I am so grateful. No, this is great.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. So this time around with Confessions, it's a much smoother process. You came into this knowing what to expect. Did you find that the whole way through as well, with sort of speaking with the publisher as you were working on it and then editing and then now the marketing? So.
Yes, it was definitely a lot smoother this time around with Confessions. Editing and meeting deadlines, it was quite smooth. Yeah, I mean, with this book, I actually went to my first in-person event.
Okay,
so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's fun.
But otherwise, it's been all like Zoom calls and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. How was it, your first in-person event?
It was more nerve-wracking than anything ever, but but it went well. I signed some books, met some people. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, it must be nice. It's great, when you see reviews online or when you someone sends you a nice message. But it must be really nice meeting your fans of the book in person and then kind of sharing their experience of the book with you.
Exactly. It was so bizarre meeting people who were excited to meet me. Are you sure you're here for me? What? It was weird, but it was really cool.
Was it in a bookshop?
It was like a book festival.
Oh, okay. So lots of other authors and books and sort of signing lines and stuff there.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Did that take the pressure off a bit?
A little. Yeah, it wasn't just for me. I had like a slot where I got interviewed and then a little corner that I was signing books. But yeah, it took the pressure off a little bit.
Okay, yeah. Because I've always wondered, sometimes authors do at a bookshop or something, it would just be them. And like sometimes there's no one there and sometimes the queue is massive and it seems like a weird, but you haven't done that. So.
Well, I literally am about to do that tomorrow.
Are you? Okay.
Yes.
Are you nervous?
Not yet.
No. Okay, well, that's good. Try and maintain that until tomorrow. So, Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl, second book of the 2-book deal. What have you and your agent arranged for a new deal with Hotkey Books? What's going on there?
That is a little up in the air right now.
Okay.
I am working on Actually, I guess, I don't know if I can say that. I am working on another book with HarperCollins in the US, but as far as UK, we still haven't gotten anything locked down. Not just yet. Okay.
But you're working on a third book. Would it be same genre, same kind of style?
Yes.
Matching aesthetic, because I love the aesthetic of the two covers, the bright, vibrant colors. Absolutely love it.
Yes, me too. I love putting them together. It looks so great.
Yes, it does. They just need a third one now to go.
Yes.
Did you have much input in the cover design?
I had more input in the UK version. I was working with Carla. She was my editor at the time of Ugly Cry and for a little bit of Confessions. She would ask me like, what's the scenery like there? What do these characters look like? Give me all of the details. And then someone would go draw it up and I would get to like, give them notes. And it was great. I had a kind of a big part.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like fan art, but very official.
Yes.
Of your book. Yeah.
Yes, I loved it.
Amazing. So it sounds like your second book was a much smoother ride than your first book.
So Confessions was actually kind of hard to write. It was the first time I had to write under a deadline.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it did go, I think it went smoother than what is happening right now.
Okay.
My third book is
Oh, no.
it's trying to take me out. It's trying to kill me.
Okay. You just got to keep battling it. You'll get there.
Yes, thank you.
Writing's always difficult, and it feels like it's the sort of discipline that is filled with its own sort of pantheon of demons. Like each one has a different effect on writers in different ways. What's the part of the process that you find the hardest?
I think first drafting is really hard for me because it's hard for me to not want to write the finished product first time around.
Yeah.
So I'll try and really I'll think way too hard about wording and obsess about it until I edit when I haven't even gotten through the first chapter, and it slows me down. Yeah.
You don't do the vomit draft, as I've heard it called. A lot of people do, where they just get it on the page.
Right. I really wish I could just let myself do that. It would help so much. But no, I try and write the published version on the first time around.
Okay. Well, presumably then it would be less drafts of edits.
I guess.
Afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it all planned out?
Some of it. Right. So I try to write the finished product, but I don't even have it planned. I mean, I have an outline, some of it is planned, but it's not very detailed.
Sure. But that seems to be what works for you. You've put out 2 great books. So, it may be difficult, but eventually you get there and you do figure it all out.
Yeah.
Conversely, what's your favorite part of the process?
I think my favorite part is when I get the idea and I can just create these characters out of thin air in this situation. When you have this hook, it's really fun to start developing it. But when you actually have to start drafting it, that's when, that's when it stops being so much fun.
Yeah. When you have to start putting the hard work in.
Yes, exactly.
Do you have are you the sort of person that has lots of ideas sort of written down somewhere or just kind of buzzing around your head?
Oh, I have a journal. Yes.
All right. Is it
every
you
idea?
Write lists, right?
Exactly. Yes. Every page in the journal is a different book idea.
Oh, very cool. So
yes.
You've got books for, the next 20, 30 books just ready to go, right?
I don't know about that. I mean, some of the ideas are really vague but maybe another 5 books.
Okay, but that's good.
Yeah.
When it came to the one you're writing now, did you consult the notebook of ideas or did you come up with a new one?
Actually, the one I'm writing now has been one I've been trying to write for a long time.
Okay.
It's one that's just been in my head for a long time, and yeah.
Okay. Well, excited to find out more about it and find out what it is. That'll be great.
Yeah.
And last question on writing. Do you feel like your writing has changed and sort of grown since you wrote Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry?
I do. I think that though the process and the whole deadline thing, it makes it a lot harder, I do think that my writing has grown. And I know what sounds good now. I know what I need to do in terms of scenery and character development and plot and stuff like that. I've got the formula down, but just implementing it is a little difficult.
That's great. So it comes out sort of more closer to what it will finally look like.
Yeah.
Despite you editing it while you write it.
Exactly. Yes.
And what advice would you have for other writers out there, people looking into putting their books out into the world, sending them to agents or publishers?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice for aspiring writers is to read, to read in their genre, and to study these books. Study books that you love and figure out what it is that you love about these books and what this author did right, I guess. And then study books that you hate, study books that you think are terrible, and figure out what it is that they did that you hate about it. And don't do that in your writing. You know, apply the stuff that you admire about your favorite authors. And then also, I would suggest beta reading for other aspiring authors. I think if you're able to give other writers advice, or if you're able to pick up on the things that they need to work on, you're better able to do that for your own writing.
Yes, I completely agree. I've done that myself. Seen someone else's writing and thought, oh, you keep doing this thing that's wrong. And then I go back to edit one of my things. I'm like, oh,
I did it too.
I do that.
Yes, exactly.
No, it's great editing other people's and that's great advice. I must ask, it sounded like you were speaking with a specific book in mind when you said read one you hate and figure out what they did that you hated. I think you can confess which book it is.
Oh my gosh. No.
All right, fair enough. I thought I'd ask.
I can't do it. I can't.
That brings us on to the final question, which, as always, is, Joya, if you were stranded on a desert island with a single book, which book would you take with you?
I think answering this question requires strategy, you know?
Okay.
So if you're stranded on a desert island, you're by yourself, and it seems hopeless, I would want a book that gives me hope or that makes me happy. But also, I think a fantasy book would be good for that situation, to really just like escape reality. Yeah. And I can't believe I'm gonna say it, but Twilight.
Okay.
I know.
Your version or the original?
The original. I don't know where my version is.
Oh, okay. Probably for the best.
Yes.
Amazing. Always good to have one of those generational classics on the desert island. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Joya, for coming on and chatting with me and sharing your experience with publishing and everything that's going on with you and the books, which are both fantastic. And I would recommend them to anyone who's interested in YA romantic comedies with serious undertones.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. I'm so appreciative.
And for anyone wanting to keep up with everything that Joya is doing, you can follow her on Twitter at Joya_Goffney and on Instagram at Joya_Goffney. To make sure you don't miss an episode of this podcast, follow us on Right and Wrong UK on Twitter and at Right and Wrong Podcast on Instagram. Thanks again to Joya, and thanks to everybody listening. We'll catch you in the next episode. Thanks for hanging around until the end. If you're interested in starting your own podcast but aren't really sure what that looks like, I can't recommend Zencastr enough. It's so simple to host, record, and download your podcast with, and it even has a built-in transcription AI. It functions entirely in the internet browser, which means all your guests have to do is click on a link and they'll be brought into the conversation. If you click on the link in the description, you'll get 30% off the first 3 months. All you have to do is click on the link in the description. Thanks again for supporting the show, and we'll see you in the next episode.